People often think weak legs are just part of getting old, like there's nothing to be done about it. But I've seen something different. I've seen people, men and women in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who simply changed one small thing before bed. And by morning, something shifted. Not dramatically, not instantly, but enough that they could stand without reaching for the wall, enough that they felt steady again. If that sounds familiar, stay with me. Because this isn't about quick fixes. It's about listening to what your body's been asking for quietly for years. It starts with a moment most people miss. You wake up, you sit up, you slide your feet to the floor. And you pause, not because you want to, because your legs hesitate. There's no pain, just that strange sense that something's off. Like the connection between mind and muscle has gone fuzzy. You press your hands into the mattress, you push up carefully, and you tell yourself, I'm just stiff this morning. You move on. But it happens again and again. Until one morning you stop pretending it's nothing. That was Robert's story, 71 years old, a retired mechanic. He spent his life working with his hands standing on concrete fixing engines. Tough guy, calloused palms, sharp wit. But when he walked into my office, he looked unsure, not in his words, but in his steps. He said, "It's the mornings, Doc. My legs feel like they're not mine anymore." He hadn't fallen, wasn't dizzy, no pain, no swelling. Just that quiet disconnection that made him doubt himself. And more than that, made him afraid, not of injury, but of what it might mean. We talked for a while. I asked him about his sleep, about his routine, about what he ate at night. He smiled and said, "Oh, I stopped eating after 6 years ago. Someone told me it helps with digestion. I usually just sip tea." He looked proud of that habit. Disciplined, careful, but I looked back at him and said, that might be exactly where we start, because sometimes the body doesn't need less. It needs more, just enough, at the right time. He looked confused, said, "You're saying my legs are weak because I don't eat at night." And I said, "No, I'm saying they're not getting a chance to recover because you don't give them anything to rebuild with." He paused, then said, "I thought sleep was for rest." I nodded. It is. But it's also when your body repairs. And repair takes fuel. That was the beginning of the shift. Not a diet, not an exercise plan, just a simple change before bedtime. Something so small, but for Robert it changed everything. I asked Robert to try something, nothing extreme, no medications, just a light balanced snack 30 minutes before bed. He looked skeptical. I thought eating late made people gain weight. I smiled. At your age, what matters more is recovery. Your muscles can't rebuild from nothing. He didn't believe me at first, but he agreed to try. Egg, kiwi, a cup of warm tea. Something simple every night. 2 weeks later, he came back with a different walk. Still slow, still careful, but stronger. "I stood up this morning without even thinking about it," he said. "No hesitation, no hands. I just stood." He paused, then smiled. And that's when I knew his body had been waiting for this. For years. Most people think sleep is when everything shuts off. A pause, a break, an end to the day. But your body doesn't stop working when your eyes close. In fact, that's when the most important work begins. Not work you feel, but work that matters. During sleep, your muscles recover. your brain resets, your immune system recharges, and your body begins repairing everything it quietly endured that day. But here's the part no one talks about. Repair doesn't happen on its own. It needs raw materials, fuel, building blocks, and if you go to bed without giving your body what it needs, then nothing gets rebuilt. It's like sending workers to a job site at night, but there's no wood, no nails, no tools. So they wait and leave, and the damage stays. That's what happens to your muscles, especially as you get older, especially in your legs. You see, after 60, the body naturally loses muscle a little every year, unless you give it a reason to hold on, unless you give it what it needs. And no, I'm not talking about heavy meals, not steak and potatoes before bed, not extra calories you don't want. I'm talking about a small intentional signal, the kind your body understands, the kind that says, you're not starving, you're not in danger, it's safe to recover now. When Robert stopped eating at 6, he didn't realize his body was entering a fast, not just skipping dessert, but depriving his muscles of what they needed right when they needed it most. That kind of habit builds slowly. It's taught. It sounds healthy. Don't eat late. Let your digestion rest. Going to bed empty helps you sleep. And maybe that works when you're 30, maybe even 40. But after 60, after 70, the rules change. Because now the goal isn't just light sleep, it's preservation, protection, reinforcement. Your muscles aren't just for walking. They protect your joints, support your heart, balance your blood sugar, keep your bones in alignment. And when they break down quietly, slowly, the rest of your body starts to follow. The difference between someone who walks confidently at 75 and someone who uses a cane at 68 often comes down to what they did when no one was watching, what they fed their body when the world went quiet. You may think it's too late to change, too small to matter, but Robert proved otherwise, not through willpower, but through routine. And that routine started in the last 30 minutes of his day, not with effort, but with a message that said, I'm still here, I still want to stand tall, and his body listened. So will yours. The problem isn't just that people stop eating early. It's also what they choose when they do eat. Because even when we try to do the right thing, we often get it wrong. I've seen it over and over again. A small bowl of cereal, a slice of toast, a glass of fruit juice, a banana with tea, maybe some crackers, something light, something safe. But the truth is, these choices aren't helping. They're hurting. Because while they may be easy to digest, they're mostly sugar, fast-burning empty energy. And when your body gets sugar at night, it doesn't settle in to heal. It scrambles. Blood sugar spikes, then crashes. Cortisol rises. And instead of resting, your body enters stress mode. Now your sleep is disrupted. Your recovery is delayed. And your muscles, they start to break down. This is what most people don't see. They think a banana before bed is harmless. They think tea with honey is calming. They think skipping protein is clean eating. But clean doesn't always mean smart, and light doesn't always mean right. Your body needs more than sugar to rebuild. It needs amino acids, magnesium, slow digesting fuel that lasts through the night. Without it, you're not just going to bed empty. You're going to bed unarmed. And night after night, the cost adds up. Maybe not in pain, maybe not in something obvious, but in the little things, standing up slower, holding on to something you didn't used to need, avoiding stairs, skipping walks, sitting more than you stand. And over time, those little things become big things. That's how it begins. Not with a fall, not with a fracture, but with the quiet loss of strength you didn't know you were losing. And most of the time, the cause isn't a disease. It's not genetics. It's not something you did wrong. It's a pattern, a habit, one that starts with what you don't put on your plate. Because after a certain age, skipping dinner isn't discipline, it's deprivation. And your muscles can't grow on discipline alone. I once had a patient say, "I've been eating the same way for 30 years. And I told her, that's exactly why we need to change it now. Because your body today is not the same as it was at 45. It's not broken. It's just different. It needs to be fed differently. Not more, not heavier, just smarter. And that's where most people go wrong. Not in effort, not in intention, but in information. They're doing what they were told, but what they were told was never meant for the body they have now. That's why this matters. Because once you understand what your body needs at night, you can start giving it back what it's been missing. And the changes don't take months. Sometimes they start in just a few nights. So what should you eat before bed? It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a meal, but it does have to make sense biologically, emotionally, and practically. Start simple. Start with something that takes less than 2 minutes to prepare. Something that tells your body, we're ready. Go ahead. Heal. One of the first combinations I recommend is this: 1 boiled egg, half a kiwi, a cup of warm water or gentle herbal tea. That's it. The egg provides complete protein not just for strength, but for the release of tryptophan, a powerful amino acid that supports both muscle repair and restful sleep. The kiwi. You might be surprised. It contains natural compounds that help your body produce melatonin. It's been shown to improve sleep quality in adults, especially older ones, and the warm water or tea. That's for the nervous system. It tells everything to slow down. It calms. It steadies. It prepares the body for what it's about to do. I call this the gentle reset. It's not fancy, it's not hard, but it works. Another great combination: 3 tablespoons of cottage cheese, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin seeds, 1 slice of whole grain bread. The cottage cheese is packed with casein, a slow-digesting protein that feeds your muscles for hours. It doesn't spike blood sugar, it doesn't disrupt your sleep, it just supports the body slowly as you rest. The pumpkin seeds add magnesium and zinc, 2 minerals that many older adults are deficient in and both critical for muscle relaxation and cellular repair. The bread may surprise you, but it helps regulate the release of tryptophan. It prevents blood sugar from dropping too fast, and it helps keep you asleep longer. I call this the slow builder. It's great for those who feel weaker in the mornings, especially in the legs, especially after days with less movement. The third option: 1 cup of low-fat milk, 1 ripe banana, 1 teaspoon of chia seeds. This one is warm, comforting, and full of natural support. The milk gives you calcium, protein, and tryptophan in one clean source. The banana is rich in potassium and vitamin B6, which support nerve function and help ease nighttime cramps. And the chia seeds, they bring fiber omega-3s and steady energy through the night. They also help with inflammation, joint stiffness, and deep sleep. This one is called the overnight recharger. And it's perfect for anyone who wakes up tired, even after 8 hours in bed. These three combinations aren't meals, they're signals. They're messages your body understands. Not I'm full, not I overate, but I'm ready to heal. Because that's what these foods do. They don't push your body. They support it. They don't weigh you down. They hold you up. They don't feed the hunger in your stomach. They feed the strength that wants to come back. Sometimes the change is so small people miss it. They try one of the evening combos for a few nights. Nothing dramatic happens. No fireworks. No miracles. But then, something quiet shifts. You wake up, and you don't grab the edge of the bed. You don't hesitate. You just stand. Not faster, not stronger, just steadier. More sure. That's what happened with Linda. She was 74, retired teacher, soft voice, sharp mind. But lately she had started avoiding stairs. She hadn't fallen, but she had come close. And that fear had planted itself deep. She walked like someone who was bracing for something, like the ground couldn't quite be trusted. We talked. She wasn't interested in supplements, didn't want another pill. But when I explained what was happening, how her muscles weren't recovering. Overnight, she leaned in. I suggested the slow builder, cottage cheese, pumpkin seeds, whole grain bread. She made a face. I'm not sure I'll like that. I smiled. You don't have to like it. You just have to try it. She agreed, reluctantly. For 7 days. On the 8th, she came back with a quiet smile. I woke up and went straight to the kitchen, she said. No hands, no wall, no thinking. Just walked. She paused, then added something I didn't expect. It felt like I was back inside my body again. That stuck with me, because it wasn't about the food. It wasn't even about the strength. It was about coming home, about no longer feeling separate from the legs that carried her. So many older adults feel that disconnect. They stop trusting their steps. They stop trusting themselves. And when that happens, something inside pulls back. You do less. You shrink your world. You become careful with movement, careful with effort, careful with hope. But what if the body didn't need caution? What if it just needed care? What if you could feed your legs the way you'd feed a tired heart, with patience, with the right ingredients, at the right time? You don't need to feel 20 again. You just need to feel connected again, safe again. Strong enough to do what you used to do without fear. Because confidence isn't just mental, it's physical. And when your body responds, your spirit rises too. That's what happened with Linda. She didn't just find balance, she found belonging in her own body. And it all began with one quiet decision. One night, one small plate, and a willingness to believe that healing might still be possible. Aging changes many things, your routines, your priorities, your energy. But one of the hardest parts is the quiet distance that starts forming between you and your own body. You still move, still live, still think clearly. But something feels different, like your body's on a slight delay, like it doesn't answer the way it used to. You lift your arm, and it's just a little slower. You climb stairs, and your legs complain sooner. You catch yourself thinking before rising from a chair. That pause, it's not always about weakness. Sometimes it's about doubt, not knowing whether your body will respond the way it should. And that doubt seeps into everything. It makes you cautious, makes you quieter, makes you question if this is just how things go now. But here's the truth most people never hear. Your body still wants to work with you, even now, even after all these years. It's not giving up. It's just waiting. waiting for the right kind of care, the kind that says, I see you, I trust you, I'll meet you halfway. That's what these evening routines are really about. Not perfection, not control, but partnership. When you give your body the nutrients it's been missing at the exact time it's best prepared to use them, something inside wakes up. It's subtle at first, a stronger push off the mattress, a steadier walk to the bathroom, a deeper breath before standing up. But those tiny moments build. They restore not just strength, but identity. Because when you feel your legs holding you again, you remember what it means to belong to yourself, to not be afraid of movement, to not question every step. You realize that your body isn't falling apart. It was simply underserved, and now it's being heard again. This kind of healing doesn't come from clinics. It doesn't come from scans or tests. It comes from relationship, from showing up for your body every night with something that tells it I'm not giving up on you. And in return, your body says, then I won't give up on you either. There is still time. There is still power in these muscles, still memory in these joints, still life in these steps. You don't have to reverse the years. You just have to stop letting them push you further away from your body. Come back to it. Feed it gently, consistently, thoughtfully. And you might be surprised how much of your strength has been there all along, simply waiting to return. People often ask, what should I eat? But a better question is, when does my body need it most? Because after 60, timing becomes just as important as nutrition. And for many people, the time that matters most is right before bed. You see, during the day your body spends energy. It walks, it stands, it balances. Even when you're sitting, your muscles are still working to support your posture, your breathing, your circulation. But at night, when you finally lie down, that's when your body shifts. It goes into repair mode. That's when it begins patching the small tears in your muscles, restoring nerve function, clearing inflammation. And what that repair process depends on is whether you've given your body the tools to do the job. When you stop eating early, your body enters a kind of fast. Now, fasting isn't bad in itself, but for seniors it can come at a cost. Because if the fast is too long, your body runs out of raw materials. It has no protein to pull from, no magnesium to relax the muscles, no slow-burning fuel to keep blood sugar stable through the night. So instead of recovering, your body shifts into preservation. It holds back. It stops rebuilding. And it starts breaking down the muscle you already have to keep everything else running. Night after night, that trade-off becomes a pattern. And over time, that pattern becomes weakness, not because of age, but because your body never got the chance to recover the way it needed to. Now the fix isn't more food. It's not about eating late just for the sake of it. It's about targeted support, something light, something digestible, but most of all, something purposeful. You're not feeding hunger, you're feeding function. You're saying, I know you've worked hard today. Here's something to help you rebuild before tomorrow begins. That message changes how the body operates. It reduces stress hormones, improves sleep cycles, supports collagen production, and most importantly, protects muscle mass. Because at this stage in life, your muscle is everything. It's not just about walking. It's about rising from a chair, lifting a grandchild, preventing a fall, breathing well, maintaining independence. And your ability to preserve it often comes down to what you do in the final hour of your day. This is why people like Robert and Linda saw changes. They didn't eat more. They just ate smarter at the right time with the right intention. And that one shift began rewriting the story their bodies had been telling for years. It gave their muscles a reason to hold on, a reason to push back, a reason to come alive again. So if you've been doing everything right, but still waking up weak, stiff, or slow, consider this. Maybe it's not what you've been eating. Maybe it's just when you've been eating it. Maybe no one ever told you this before. Maybe no one ever said, your body is still listening. But it is. Even now. Even after the slow mornings, the unsteady steps, the quiet doubts. Your body still wants to work with you. It's not too late. You're not too far gone. You're not past the point of change. Because change doesn't begin with a transformation. It begins with a signal, a small one, consistent, intentional, powerful. When you feed your body with care, especially before rest, you're not just supporting sleep. You're planting a message that says, you matter. You are still building. You still deserve strength. And your body, it hears you. It may take a few days, a week, maybe longer, but the response always comes. Maybe in the way you rise without gripping the edge of the bed. Maybe in the way your knees stop shaking by the second step. Maybe in the way you stop thinking so much before you move. That quiet trust. It returns. Because your body remembers what strength feels like, and it wants to feel that again, not for anyone else, not for pride, but for you, for your independence, for your dignity, for the freedom to keep choosing how you live. That freedom begins tonight, not in a clinic, not in a gym, but in your kitchen, in a moment you've overlooked, a moment you can reclaim. So start simple, start small, choose one of the evening routines. Boiled egg and kiwi, cottage cheese and seeds, milk and banana, whatever feels doable, whatever feels real, and commit to it. For one night, then 2, then 3. And watch what happens when your body feels supported again. Watch what returns when you stop withholding the fuel it needs to heal. You'll wake up with more than energy. You'll wake up with quiet confidence, the kind that says, I still have something left in me. And you do. You always have. If this message has touched something in you, if it feels familiar or hopeful or true, then don't walk away from it. Subscribe to Senior Fit. Stay with us. Because here, growing older doesn't mean giving up. It means growing into something stronger, softer, and wiser. Together. One night at a time. One quiet meal at a time. One strong morning at a time.